Good afternoon. Today we are continuing with those proportions with this new unit about proportions. Today we are doing CO36. I can use inverse proportions in real context. So we talked about the partitive proportions and the direct proportions. Now it's the inverse proportions. And this is the one that is a little bit newer. Okay, the last two objectives were stuff that we'd already learned and we were applying it. Now we're going to learn something new. So first thing we need to know is what is an inverse proportion? What it means is when one value increases, the other value, if it's inverse, it means it's the opposite, so the other value decreases. Or when one value decreases, the other value increases. One example. Twice as many people do the work in half the time. So as the number of people goes up, the amount of time that it takes to get the work done goes down. Kind of makes sense, right? More people doing it, the less time it takes. So that's an inverse proportion. When one goes up, one number goes up, the other number comes down. So here is the question that we are going to work on. 9 artists design a project in 6 hours. How many hours will it take 12 artists to do the same work? Do you think our answer is going to be greater than 6 or less than 6? Alexis? Why?
Because there's twice as many people.
Well, it's not twice as many. 9 to 12 isn't twice, but there's more. If we're going from 9 to 12, we have an increase. So then our other number is going to decrease. So if we're at 6, we know our answer is going to be smaller. So that's the way that we logically check. Does this make sense? If we know one set of numbers goes up, our answer is going to go down. Aiden? Well, I have to show you how we're going to solve it. So I'm going to show you how we come up with those answers. Okay? So we're going to set up our proportions. It's a proportion, so we're going to set it up the same way that we've set up other proportions using that fraction bar. But we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to keep the units to match vertically. So if I put artists on the top, I'm going to put artists on the bottom. So they're going to line up vertically. And that's going to equal our hours and our hours. So we start with 9 artists, and then we go to 12 artists. So we're lining them up, artist over artist, hour over hour. This is a type of proportion. It's an inverse proportion. It's not the ratio. This is an inverse proportion. So if we had 9 artists, we're going to put diagonally, because remember we've got those cross products. 9 artists would go for 6 hours. 12 artists would be how many hours? So I'm going to put my N for the number of hours.
Wait, why is this why is this 6?
Why did I say I was putting the 6 on the bottom?
It's
Cross products. 9 artists for 6 hours. We're thinking how we're going diagonally for those cross products. Okay? So cross products, 9 artists for 6 hours, 12 artists for our question mark hours. So if we set it up that way, we know how to solve this all of a sudden. We go, oh, I've done this. I've done the solving for everything. Priya?
You do 9 times 6
Mm-hmm.
divided by 12.
Yeah, because we've got 9 times 6 equals 12 times n. And then we want to divide out the 12 so we can have n equals our number. Does that make sense? So this is, we've already done this kind of math. The trick to this inverse proportion is knowing where to put each number. If you line up your numbers incorrectly, you're going to get the wrong answer. So we need a big thing to remember is that cross. So 9 artists to 6 hours. If artists are on the left, artists are on the left, hours on the right, hours on the right. We line up those measurements vertically. And we match them up diagonally for the ones that go together. 9 artists to 6 hours, 12 artists, so we don't know how many. What did we get for an answer? Priya?
4.5.
4.5? So it's going to take 4.5 hours. Does that logically make sense?
Yeah.
You can say 4 hours and 30 minutes. That's the same as 4.5 hours. We know it logically makes sense because artists went up, so our hours goes down. So it's going to be smaller than 6. Evelyn. No square roots. We're not doing square roots. You just said square root. 9 times 6 is 54. 54 divided by 12. Aiden.
Is it just like lucky that this one was like the answer was half a 9, or is that just like that?
Oh, yeah, that is just coincidence. Okay. Total coincidence. Not a pattern that we would follow. So let's look at this example that he put here. So if I say twice as many people, and let's say I had 6 people. So if I had 6 people, and let's say they do the work in 12 hours. So if 6 people can do the work in 12 hours, I'm going to start with my 6 people. Where am I going to put the 12 hours? Evan.
On the bottom.
On 6 people's on top, so I go on to the other side and I put it on the bottom. Right? Because it's diagonal. Where am I going to put the twice as many people? Yeah, people over people. We want our measurements the same. So 6, twice the number of people, what number would it be? 12, right? So we're doubling it. Now, I'm picking easy numbers.
Yeah.
I did that without thinking. But doing our math, we know that the answer we want for the number of hours, we would do 6 times 12 equals 12n. So we're going to divide 12 out. And so we know our answer would be 6. So if we had 6 people, it took us 12 hours. If we have 12 people, it's going to take us 6 hours. It's simple math, right? We could have done that in our head, but I wanted us to see it written out. Does that make sense? What are we waiting on, Evelyn? Evelyn, sorry. Did you do 6 times 12 divided by 12? And you got 6, right? Yeah. That's the answer. For this one, we did a different problem. We did this problem now. The first one was the artist. The second one was the people. So it's different problem, so it's a different answer. We're not going to do this proportion number 2, a way to solve it. Mr. Schultz said, you know what? It's pretty much the exact same way. So just do another example of solving it this way. So 1 and 2 are the same way to solve it. It's not a different way to solve it. It's the same way. So that's why we got different answers, because I did different problems, just giving us time. It worked solving it. Does that make sense? Yeah, I didn't explain that's what I was doing. So that's why we have different answers. What I want us to do before I do number 3, we're going to do our first work problem together. So I need to scroll up because I want us to have practice doing it this way. So what did I just say? Before I show you the third way, we're going to do another example this way. Okay? So 4 bricklayers build a wall in 5 days. How many days will it take 10 bricklayers to build the same wall? So see if you can work it out and then put your answer on your whiteboard. Real quick. Work out the bricklayer problem. Shh, quiet. We are working. Work it out. The bricklayers. So, shh, those of us that have showed me, we're doing good. So, we know there are 4 bricklayers in 5 days, and then there's going to be 10 bricklayers. So I'm going to start with my first one, 4 bricklayers. Laborers equals, where do I put the rest of my information? I started us off with the 4 bricklayers. Where do I put the rest of our information that we know? Give me one chance.
So the lowest 10 bricklayers?
Yeah, because we want to keep our labels the same. Bricklayers over bricklayers, and we know there's 10. We have one more piece of information. Where do I put the 5 days, Gus? Yeah, 4 bricklayers are on the top, so the 5 days goes on the bottom. And then we have our question mark for our days. Is our number going to be bigger than 5 or less than 5? Is our answer going to be greater than 5 or less than, Aiden? Less than, because, please stop talking. I'm recording. We know that bricklayers increased. They went from 4 to 10. So we know our days needs to decrease. So our answer is going to be less than 5. So we know with our cross products, we have 4 times 5 equals 10 times n. So I'm going to divide each side by 10. So 4 times 5 is 20. 20 divided by 5 gives me 2. So it will take 2 days for 10 bricklayers to do it. 2 is less than 5, so it logically makes sense. Okay? So we're following along with that, right? Any questions?
Can we do the next one?
I want to show you the third way now. Or do you want, the third way is going to be the easy way to do it.
Well, the
I
easy
thought
way.
that was easy.
Yeah.
I know. This, it gets even easier. So, because now we understand how we're setting it up. So now, if we're going back to that same 9 artists in 6 hours, how long does it take 12 artists? We take our first 2, and we don't even put it into the proportion. And we do, oops. So we take the first 2 and you multiply them, and you're going to divide it. Did I have to do all of the steps and write it all out? Literally just have to multiply the first proportion. It's the same math. We just understand why we can skip ahead and just write it out like this. We don't have to write it out as a proportion if we understand our proportion. James.
Can you put a parenthesis between the 9 and 6 so you don't?
You can either put the multiplication sign, or you could do it like this. They both mean the same thing. They both mean we're going to multiply the 9 and the 6. Okay? So we're going to get the same answer. 9 times 6 divided by 12. It is the same math. It's just a much easier way of writing it out. And we understand why we're writing it out this way. So you're going to take the first proportion and multiply it, divide it by the known of our second proportion, and we'll get the missing. Does that make sense on one? Do you have a question? Yep, we'll do the next one. Okay, so now that we can do it an even easier way, less writing, let's try that. So 4 technicians complete a job in 8 days. How many technicians are needed to complete the same work in 16 days? So, do you have a question? Do you have the answer? Yep, put your answer on your whiteboard. Thank you to my friends who brought their whiteboards.
I just don't have the word.
How do you do it? I don't know how to do this without.
So let's look using our new way. Think about what we're doing. Our first proportion, we have 4 times 8. And we know our second proportion, we're going to divide out our known. 4 times 8 divided by 16. And that gets us our 2 days.
2 days ago.
Yeah, 2 days and 2 days. Choose the lucky number. It's not 2 days for all of the answers.
Oh, the answer can't be all 2 days.
Oh, yeah, the next one's a little bit more. So let's look at our second one. 7 campers put up a tent in 45 minutes. If 3, not quite as easy now. If 3 campers leave, how many minutes would it take to put up a tent that is the same size? So now we have to do the math in our head. How many campers is in our second proportion? 7. We're doing the same math. So we know our first proportion is 7 campers and 45 minutes. What number are we going to divide by? Priya?
Oh, wait.
I know how to.
What number do we divide by, Mario? Why 4? 4's not in my
Because,
problem.
so 7 campers in the beginning, but then it said if 3 campers leave.
Oh, if 3 leave, how many campers are left? So we had to do that math. 3 campers leave, that means we're left with 4 campers doing the work. So we always have to stop and think, what information are they giving us? Did they tell us how many campers are doing the work? No, they said 3 campers left. So we had to figure out how many campers are doing the work. Okay, so now we know it's 7 times 45 divided by 4. James?
It's 1 hour and 18 minutes.
Or you can tell me
Oh.
the minutes. Because it says how, so the important thing is what our question says. How many minutes would it take?
78.7.
So
78.5.
0.75. Because it says how many minutes. So you're going to give your answer in minutes. Okay, always read the question for meaning. What should our answer look like? It didn't ask for hours, didn't ask for seconds. Okay, it just wanted the answer in minutes. You are going to do the second page on your own, asking me if you have questions. Hold on just 1 second, please. For my friends at home, we hope you are well and we hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.